My name is Stephanie. I am a special education teacher at Kate Starr Kellogg School on the south side of Chicago, and I've been teaching a little under a year. My first couple days teaching in Chicago public schools were a little bit hectic. I came in right in almost the end of the year. It was the very beginning of March. Actually, my first day in the room when I came in and meet the students, one of them for the first time in his life had a seizure right on the spot, and I kind of was put to the test right away because I did say I had some experience with children with seizures. So it was quite interesting, but there was a big learning curve. I had to really be able to jump in and be willing to spend a lot of time kind of figuring things out on my own. I feel like my student teaching definitely prepared me for it. The group I student taught was very similar to the group I teach now, and I still communicate really often with my cooperating teacher, and she's still helpful to this day. If I ever have any questions, I occasionally go into her room when we have different days off, and if I'm off, I go into her classroom, which was in the Niles Township District for Special Education Cooperative, and kind of teach lessons and still get some feedback on that. The students at my school is predominantly African American. I think it's about 90% African American. Very few English language learners. In fact, our 2 English language learners moved out. Race may or may not have an effect on that. It's kind of different in our school because where I teach in the primary grade, you don't see it as much, and as the students get older, they definitely tend to divide themselves, culture sometimes being a factor, but a lot of times you just tend to be cliquey like most middle schoolers would be. I definitely think so. I think the students that are there now do benefit from the whatever racial diversity there is at the school, but the more diverse a school is, the more cultures involved, the more students learn. Right now our school is part of the middle years program, International Baccalaureate program, so they do have interactions with students from all over the world. We just communicated with a group of students from Guatemala and shared all about their cultures and traditions, so I definitely work in a school that really values that. When I was in school,
Yes.
it's a little bit different. It's definitely a culture shock just working on the south side of Chicago in the Beverly neighborhood. It's like a little island within the city, really. And for instance, we have wild parrots that live on the south side that I never even knew when I was going to school. So there's wild parrots. That's like the big thing. But it's pretty similar in a lot of ways. Well, most people would say that $5.7 billion is a pretty sufficient budget for any school district. As far as how money is allocated and distributed and the $100,000 salaries that are given to some of the employees that work for the district level, not necessarily the teaching, many would argue that that money could possibly be allocated differently. I don't feel like I have enough experience to really comment on that. But I know as far as my classroom goes, whatever I've ever needed, my principal has been able to provide for me. Or if we can't get it, we think of a way to obtain it. I work at a school with really supportive parents who do a lot of fundraising, so a lot of times we tend to rely on those funds. It definitely does, especially when I'm working in the middle school and I'm just a few years older than they are. But it's just really important as a teacher to be respectful of the students, and they always have returned that respect towards me. I've never had a problem working with grades K through 8. I just feel like if I show a respect towards the students, they've always been able to respect me. That's it. I'm the teacher and they're the student, you know. So well, the students love to teach me about their different cultures. Some of my students taught me a lesson about hair braiding, which was really interesting, and kind of where it comes from within their culture and how it's such a big part of the culture. I find, again, if you're respectful towards all cultures, the students tend to respect you more. I've had a few comments be made to me about, me not being African American, but for the most part, the students have learned that there is a mutual respect within the school and respect others. I definitely would, and I have to admit, when I was back in college, I was the one who said, I am not filling out any CPS paperwork. I will never, ever teach there. Now, having experienced it, I definitely would, because it's not the location, it's not the money, it's none of that. It's how the school environment is and how the staff and the children interact with each other. And so far in my experience at my school, it's always been positive. My experience so far has been really good. I felt like the education I received in college, I just graduated from Northeastern Illinois last year. I felt like it definitely prepared me for all the experience that I'll have. And there's no such thing as a foolproof method, and I've had to learn a little bit along the way, but I think everyone has.